We're live.
We're live.
A mere 1 minute late this time. We actually have got the microphones all working, which is a miracle considering we've got a new AV setup, but we're all here. We've got people from the US. We've got Zach from Warren and Wind. He is live with us from, I think you're in New York.
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn, New York City.
You're in Brooklyn. We have got with us as well Andy, who's in the atelier.
Yeah, behind me.
And that's the atelier, and we have got Jonas, who is, well, someone who's going to give us a bit of a history. And Jonas, I think, are you working from the home office today? Yes, he is. I think he's
taking care of the kids.
The important things in life.
Put the kids to bed.
Kids then watch movements. Absolutely. So, welcome everyone that's joining us. We've obviously got the comments there. If anyone wants to put anything in the live chat, please feel free, and we will do our very best to answer it. But why are we here today? Well, we are here to talk a little bit about the last 10 years of HORAGE, and also it's also a 10-year anniversary for someone else, because Zach is with Warren and Wound over in the US, and I believe this year, Zach, it's your 10th anniversary of the Wind Up Fair.
Yeah, that's correct. 10 years of Wind Up New York City. Yeah.
So kind of everything's falling into the tens at the moment. HORAGE is a brand. We're actually there on the very first outing of that show back 10 years ago in New York, and we were there at the 10th anniversary as well. And the other 10th anniversary is 10 years ago, we did a Kickstarter, and that Kickstarter that we did was to announce a watch called the Array. It actually was called the Jonas K1 at that point in time, and it featured our very first in-house caliber, the K1, which had been many, many years in the development and perfection. And we've got Jonas, someone who was one of the key players in getting that caliber up and running, and the namesake of the watch itself. And we have Zach, who can share some memories about some articles and some coverage that he very kindly gave us back 10 years ago when we weren't as well known as we are now. And maybe there was a little bit of the doubting Thomases out there. Did they really do what they've said they've done? And maybe we'll hear a few words from Zach about that over the coming little episode that we're doing. But Andy, you've actually got 3 of the original watches on the screen there.
Yes, correct. These are the only ones left. The only ones we have. They were in the safe, and I was just digging them out and thought I'd bring them in. That was definitely the first one. The campaign at this time was in the UK. I still remember, because Switzerland didn't have Kickstarter at this time. And I also found a couple of pictures from the crowd at One and Bound when we were starting. Let me share that screen here.
Yeah.
I hope all that works now. So I make you guys a little bit smaller.
There we go.
So,
there's some pictures
yeah.
from the past. I always get slightly apprehensive when someone says they've got a picture of me from 10 years ago.
It's really funny. And we were here in the show, you know, that was actually the show setting. You remember, that was in Soho, yeah? So we had the Soho show, and then there was live watchmaking here at play. Someone got some teaching. And I'm just walking through, and that was actually afterwards, but before you guys actually came to Biel, I also remember. So when we were still having our office in Armin-Strom, then the whole crowd was coming in, and we had some barbecue.
Some sausage.
Sausages, yeah. Jonas here explaining heavily. We all had a little bit more and less gray hair. That's obviously a typical sign of 10 years aging with watches. So
that's outrageous. I'm still baby blonde. I was born this color.
Especially
yes,
Jonas.
Indeed.
Jonas definitely had more of that. I'm just lots of shoes in front of the anti-dust protection area.
There we go. Blasts from the past. And that was when, as a brand, we were a lot smaller and really had just kind of found our footings in regards to, we decided to do things a little bit differently. We wanted to do our own caliber. I think it's fair to say the title of this live kind of explains a little bit. It didn't cost 100 million, which is a little in-joke because we were pretty firmly told by the majority of the industry that we better have a lot of money if we want to get this off the ground and working. It still costs quite a lot of money, it has to be said, but definitely not 100 million.
No.
And that, in no small part, was down to Jonas. Jonas, any memories from 10 years ago, or have you tried to eradicate all of those memories from your head?
That was an amazing time. When you see these photos, they are from the workshop from Orange Drum.
Yeah, correct.
And all of these machines are still running.
Everything's still working, yeah.
That was a very young, flexible, innovative time. We worked our asses off to bring this caliber to life. And that's where it all started. We built already at this time, we already built this standard catalog for the parts, which then grew into 5, 6 different calibers. And we
I
still
found a
work
nice
with Orange
picture,
Drum
by the way,
together.
after that show.
Yeah.
Going home. No, it
There we go.
was. Huh?
It was an exciting time, as you say, Jonas, with like all of these early developments and really building and securing the foundations of what we have today. As you mentioned, we now have multiple calibers in our offering, but all of those really only exist because of the work that was done by yourself and the team in the early days to have a standardized component kit.
I have some of them here, by the way. Forgive me if I'm not always 100% hitting the spot, but I'm still practicing here with my new camera equipment. Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah,
that's still one of the very first ever made. And then we went into this micro rotor thing here, and then we came into a turbo, and then we came into a K3. So that's the history behind the whole story.
absolutely. So back in those early days, Zach, if I can kind of pass this one over to you, I think it's fair that, there was a lot of people who were slightly doubting Thomas's about, is this really true? Is this what they say it is? And I think, you definitely helped with your pretty in-depth article to, I guess, allay any fears that people had or clear up any, misunderstanding. So what do you remember of back then? And, what were your thoughts back then about, when you heard what we were doing? What was your kind of thoughts on it?
Sure. I mean, it's like it's kind of hard to put yourself like back in time 10 years ago and remember exactly what like the landscape of the the industry was like, especially coming from like the direction that Warner Wound was always looking at things, the lens that we had of looking at more affordable things, kind of the underdogs in the industry, the independents, and things like that. So just thinking about at the time, even like Solita, obviously a name we heard, but it wasn't like a standard yet, and you didn't have these like catalogs of their movements, and there wasn't a lot out there. So it was really like a big question for sort of the industry, especially brands that are using third-party movements, is like, what are they going to use? How are they going to compete with each other? What's going to make product unique? Everyone has a 3-hand 2024. Like, so anytime anything movement related came up, I personally got really excited and interested in it. And I wish I could remember exactly where I first saw like HORAGE and the K1 mentioned, like if I was just crawling Kickstarter or if it was mentioned in a forum or something. But
I think it was What You Seek.
Was it What You Seek? Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I think
that
it
makes
was
sense.
What
And
You
then,
Seek, where this crazy
followed up.
stuff came up. Crazy. First, I still remember the first 24 or 48 hours, people were going after us. Impossible. That's not true. And then you actually called me somehow or wrote an email. I think you wrote an email.
Yeah, I must have emailed you. Yeah, I've never wanted to take the comments on threads very seriously. In fact, usually if people negatively review something, that means I should be more interested in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I reached out to you, and I think it was kind of just the standard, like, I don't want to write about this until I have a feeling that there's some real people behind it, and it's not, you have to remember also Kickstarter back in the day was a lot of people were fleecing each other on these projects. So like whether or not there's even real people behind it, like what was the story? So Yeah, I mean, as I recall, we sat and had just like a quite a long conversation over Skype, RIP
Yeah,
Skype, for like maybe an hour and a half or something, and you just told me everything about it, and you know, I bought in. I
yeah,
became a believer in what you were doing, and it wasn't just that there was a new Swiss-made movement potentially being available for people, but it was that you had this whole approach with the silicon, and then also the modularity of it, which is still something I found really interesting. The fact that you could do the date and all the other things, like the complications sort of you had built into this one movement concept, which, as I recall, also didn't make it thicker or anything, right?
no,
That was
not
part of
much,
the.
not much. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, all of that, like I said, now you can, go to Leda's website and look, and they have like a bunch of, date mechanisms and this, that, and the other thing. But back then, I mean, there wasn't. Like, I don't think there was even a big date being offered to anyone.
pretty
So,
much nothing. I can
yeah.
even dig out that first article you wrote.
Yeah, no, I have it
Yeah,
open
I
now. I
think,
should have reread
I
it.
have it here.
yeah,
That
I
was
think in regards to
introducing the
that,
K1 caliber, where ETA
Yeah.
left off. That was the first. Do you see that right here?
No, yeah, there
It's
we go.
this one.
there we
So
go.
that's actually the article from back then. That was after we talked to each other, and then you were writing this article up, and then Wind Up was coming, I think, and then we went to Wind Up, and I think afterwards you came. The following season, you came to Switzerland because it was Basel World.
Yeah, we were there for
That's
Basel.
what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
years ago. Holy shit.
And I think it's fair to say as well, Jonas, you mentioned when we were talking there about the modularity or the lack of modularity. It was fully integrated, in fact, and obviously we've tweaked things slightly over the years, moving from fully integrated to semi-integrated. But this was a movement. Can you remember, Jonas, from the top of your head, how many different variations of the same movement we could do without actually affecting the size of the caliber?
You could do all of them. I think how
Yeah.
many you have there? 18.
18, and you could obviously
Yeah.
configure them in a multitude of different ways,
Yeah.
with all the core
Yeah.
complications that people expect: standard dates, big dates, power reserves. We had small seconds, running seconds. We had a multitude of different complications in there. Obviously, over the years, we've really refined and we've developed things. I think it's fair to say our current architecture of all of our current calibers is more of a semi-integrated model. Would you agree?
No, it's fully integrated.
Yeah.
The current one. Now, in the past, it was fully integrated. Now it's semi-integrated with K2.
Yeah.
Yeah. From my perspective, depends on how you look at it.
Depends on how we look at it. Yeah,
We
a
still
multitude
have-
of
we
different.
still, production-wise, we just go with one main plate and we can adapt
Yeah.
every single module in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So this kind of thinking still is there, and it's super important for us so we can deliver all kind of different specs without having the cost of the mass production, or
Yeah.
with a lot of stock with mass
A lot of
production. We have
Yeah, so having the
we
cost
can
controls in there.
we can produce in very small batches and have a high variety. If a watch brand tells you they have 5 different movements, that's an alarm sign.
Yeah.
But we have 5 different movements with the parts for 1.5 movements. So we have 60-70% or even more same parts over all the calibers.
So very high
Something.
commonality of parts.
What I recognized is the quality of the finish, how much we improved. When you look at these first movements, it's like sandpaper, it's okay. But
I had no time.
there was no time actually to spend more on finishing things.
Make the fastest and cheapest, good-looking decoration, which works.
Yeah.
And I think
Maybe,
you
Andy,
put,
if you,
yeah,
I was going to say, if you can slide over to the second slide on the presentation.
let me just get here into my organization and
There
exercise.
we go. So this one here, actually, we're hiding the first part of the slide, unfortunately, with where we are.
Unhide you.
There
I
we
just
can
need
unhide
you
us. So
guys
yeah, I
make a
think
little bit smaller.
This kind of defines I guess the last 10 years, with back in 2015, the K1 caliber really showing as a brand where our capabilities lay, what we could do. I think if we go to the halfway point,
Yeah.
and Zach, you probably remember this as well, we introduced our lockdown project, that being our hand wind tourbillon, which is we're calling it Courage because I guess it's the kind of area within the brand where we took the bold step to say we're going to do something again that's not really going to be expected. A Swiss-made flying tourbillon at a much more attainable price than was the average then and even to this day today. And then fast forwarding again another 5 years to today, still innovating with the likes of our micro rig technology in our calibers, which we were exhibiting at Wind Up in New York a mere just over a week ago. So, kind of going through those, obviously we talked a little bit about the K1. Have you got some memories? I'm not asking you to go back 10 years this time, only 5 years. Do you have any memories of that tourbillon project? Because there was some similar naysayers, I have to say, that when that one was launched as well.
That one, God, a little less distinct memories, it being the time frame that you launched that in. It's like pure chaos for in all ways. But I mean, I also recall taking note of it and just being like, wow, like HORAGE is doing, it again. Obviously, I think, knowing Andy, there's a little bit of poking the bear maybe when you do things. So the intention of doing this, obviously, to make a statement with what you can manufacture, with what some maybe the smokes and mirrors are in the industry. And yeah, I mean, I remember that being just very exciting, and you guys doing quite well with it too. I mean, as I recall, I mean,
it kind of defined us also.
Yeah.
Same like this first movement now, that tourbillon thing defined us, and it's a little bit like the same like you have this there is a certain desire to make things which are cool and fun to enjoy more accessible, and that tourbillon was exactly that. It was I mean, it's just a little bit crazy if you spend 50 to 100 or 200,000 Swiss francs for a nice function, which we probably could do with some good engineering and our parts kit for a much better price. It's also not cheap, but it's for sure a totally different game, I would say. And that's why at the end of the day, over time, it played out as, okay, we try to keep our cost under control. We make nice products. We make technically advanced products. And we use all the necessary or possible process workflows and modularization to keep these parts under control and their cost. Jonas said we actually standardize everything. So I think we have now today 485 parts in our parts lineup, and therefrom we configure kind of 5 movements as of today. That's kind of, and one and the same screw goes in 5 different movements, and that's the only way to survive something like this, I would say. And tourbillon was definitely a hardcore exercise during COVID. 8 months from, okay, we don't get a movement to anyhow nobody has anything to do because it's COVID. We get a movement and we do it within 8 months. So that's that, and it worked out. And at the end, it defined us kind of, and that continued with the micro rack. That actually has its origin, by the way, in at around Wind Up 10 years ago. This final micro rack project, because it has something to do when Jonas made the first assembly, quantity assembly during this first campaign, and then a little bit later we went into this new company which became a small shareholder, and there we recognized we are going to get a cost problem in regulation. So 10 years ago, with this first project, I would say the idea of regulating a watch from outside has started in my head. And it took more than 8 years to figure out and to find the right people with the right technology to actually do that. But the idea of doing that, just didn't know how, was already 10 years ago, and pretty much at our coming out with Wind Up Show with One and Wound. So things obviously take some time. Microrec is effectively a logic result of the K1 first industrial movement approach. For me.
Well, there is a potted history, a very much a potted history of the last 10 years. But maybe let's talk about, why we're here and what we're actually doing to, I guess, celebrate that everything 10 years. And one of the reasons that we have Zach on is because they're deep in their 10-year celebrations as well. But if you maybe slide over to the next slide there, Andy, for us. Really what we've got here is 10 years ago, we did the Jonas K1, and we did this on Kickstarter. It was still a relatively new platform there with a bit of potential, but I think as Zach pointed out, you were never quite sure what was real and what wasn't real. And that was in the days before AI got a hold of the internet. That was still a, does it exist, doesn't it exist? But, that was the point where the K1 was put really out into the wild world to see what people thought of it. A movement with 65 hours of power reserve, with silicon technology in there, something that was rarely seen in the industry at all, never mind at this kind of price point. There were the 3 colorways, which are definitely bright and punchy. I think officially were the pink, yellow, and blue, I think were the 3 colorways.
That's not the first campaign.
And
the first campaign.
That was the first campaign we did. And it was all about, a bit like the guys at Wind Up. It's about community and inclusion, about allowing as many people to try and get into the world of watches as possible. And back in those days, it wasn't in Switzerland. We had to do it actually out of the UK because it was only in the US and the UK. And it was priced... It was the equivalent in UK pounds of what was 1,470 francs at the time, which at that point in time was a 990 British pounds. Unfortunately, that number of Swiss francs will no longer get you that good an exchange rate, but we have decided to do something to celebrate it. And what we thought we would do was this model over time morphed into the model that became the Array. Very aesthetically similar, but there are a couple of key differences outside of the colorway. On this original one, if I remember rightly, Jonas was a running seconds at 9 o'clock on the original Jonas K1, and it did not have a power reserve. Is that correct?
It had a power reserve.
Did it have both?
No, the first campaign not. The first campaign had a small second.
Yes. Small second.
Small
second, no, small power.
But it was
no
modular,
power
so we have a few fans who got the power reserve later.
Yeah, but on this original one, and it morphed into what became the Array. And the Array has got the center seconds and has the power reserve, I believe, at 6 o'clock on it. And it was produced in 3, I guess, more widely available or widely acceptable colors. There was the white, there was the black, and we also did a run of a kind of grey colorway as well.
You know, by the way, why we did that second campaign? Because we wanted to prove that we can do it again, that we can provide and ship again. So they were very short behind each other. It was never about getting refinancing or being able to finance a movement project, but it was to show, okay, that it was not a one-time one-hit wonder. You call it one-hit wonder in English, I think.
Yeah.
And then we did this Array campaign. And then we did it actually all together. We did 5 campaigns, I think. 5 different campaigns with Multiply. Then we also did it in Taiwan. We did it in China. So crowdfunding became actually a cool thing for us also because it was fun. And then we became kind of the private crowdfunders over time. How, Zach, why do you think this whole, Kickstarter is not anymore front and center for watch industry, for watch brands.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it like that?
I think it got overused for a while, and now it's, I don't know, it doesn't feel like, I guess, actually, I think it was sort of replaced by a pre-order model, I think, just generally speaking, which I guess probably around COVID times when everything sort of picked up and brands were producing more and selling out faster, that sort of just became the norm. And I guess, if you could do it yourself, why involve somebody else in the process and, lose a chunk of the money in the middle, and then also have the potential of not getting it, I guess, because that happened to a couple of companies, right? If you don't reach your goal, but then I recall one company having like a trademark dispute and they lost a lot of potential money. There's a lot of reasons why I guess it wasn't ideal. But I recall at a certain point feeling a bit of like, especially if a brand went back after one time, and if they went too many times, it was a little bit like, well, why can't they fund themselves?
Yeah.
It'd be a little bit of a question. If there was a really ambitious project, that made sense. But if it was a matter of just like making the next lineup and like, well, why do they keep doing it? And now, you really don't see it that often. I mean, there are a few brands that go back to it. I think just people sort of moved on culturally, and I guess people are okay waiting and giving their money to brands directly now.
Yeah.
So.
But I still
that's-
think it's a cool platform. I like it. I love it. Some companies really do it as a standard. Meanwhile, like Peak Design, still successful, crazy successful. We visited them in San Francisco last time. So they do it as kind of a celebration of being there and born there. And they, of course, they always ship. Yeah, it's like they're fulfilling as if it's a normal sales channel. But of course, a lot of things went completely wrong.
Yeah, but I guess, as you say, also the kind of internet opening it's up, all the social media brands can more easily directly communicate than maybe they could 10 years ago as well. But what are we doing? So, well, to celebrate that 10th year anniversary, what we've decided to do is we are making, because you're definitely going to get your watch. We can guarantee you that, because we've already started production on this one. We are making a limited availability batch of both the black and the white model of the array. And our little shtick for it is, as a way of saying thank you and a kind of give back to the community, is we are offering them at the same price they were 10 years ago, that being 1,470 Swiss francs. How that translates into your own currency, unfortunately, one thing we cannot do is control the international exchange rates. I wish we could. It would make business much more simple, but we cannot do that.
And you would get very rich, by the way, if you could do that.
I would be a very rich guy. You are not wrong there. Yes, I would share the secret with the people in this panel because they're all good guys, but we would all together be very rich. In terms of what we've done special in the watch, though, as well, you may notice actually that image, Andy, of the case back. The case back is going to have a kind of imprintation on the back of the original dial configuration of the Jonas K1. And it does have a little engraving on it that says, we kickstarted it 10 years ago. It didn't cost 100 million, and a little laughing emoji at it, just as a little tongue-in-cheek way of nodding and looking back at history. So outside that, it is what you would expect. It has got all of the developments and kind of refinements that have come of 10 years worth of working at movements. No longer will Jonas be asked to hand decorate them with sandpaper himself when he's got no time. We actually have a finishing department now who will be doing all of the finishing work on these to make sure that they are absolutely up to spec. And as Andy also mentions, lots of areas of refinement, whether it be in the cases and the straps and bracelets, have all, of course, fine-tuned and finessed themselves over the last 10 years. The campaign itself is live. It started actually on the Friday of the first day of the New York wind-up when they were celebrating, as we mentioned, their 10th anniversary. And it started there. We made a little video. This is the bit where Jonas is probably going to run and hide behind a tree because there's a few bits of video of him from 10 years ago. Maybe Andy, if it's able to go full screen. I don't think it's too long, so folk
you
can have
guys
a
will
quick
not
watch
hear the sound, but
what
the
we
people
did.
listening to it, they will hear the sound.
Absolutely.
Just for information that Zach don't want and then hear something, don't hear anything. But I think we just run that little movie through because it's hilarious to look at it. Okay, so
I have two passions. One is rugby and the other one is mechanical watches. Not an everyday combination. The watch we make has our own unique mechanical movement. We have to produce 180,000 micro parts for a production run of 1,000 watches. Support us and you will get a unique automatic watch. 10 years ago, we launched our HORAGE array on Kickstarter, and it was powered by our first in-house movement, the K1. That was the start of a big journey, and a lot of things changed since then. Some naysayers back then said, it will cost you 100 million to make your own movement. Well, it didn't. In the meantime, we've developed not one, but 3 movements, and we've grown from a small independent idea into a watchmaker recognized for pushing boundaries, from silicon technology to micro rotors to tourbillons, all while staying true to our belief in transparency and independence. Now, to celebrate 10 years, we've brought the array back. Updated, refined and carrying everything we've learned along the way. The 10th anniversary is powered again with the K1, the movement that started it all. I was part of that campaign 10 years ago, and I'm proud to be here today. This limited edition is a big thank you to everyone who believed in us 10 years ago and who will join our journey today. It has a big dead indication, and you will freak out when you see it jumping at 12 o'clock. If you still see it, staying awake with a fine glass of whiskey. Cheers! I like that guy. When we launched our first array 10 years ago, we didn't know where this journey will take us. But with your support, we built our own movement, grew our team, and proved that the independent Swiss watch brand can stand on its own. This anniversary array isn't just about looking back, it's about carrying that spirit forward, of making honest, innovative watches for new generations of watch lovers. By supporting this campaign, you're not just buying a watch, you're joining our story. A story that began with a small team with a big idea and the belief that time is worth building differently. A limited edition for a limited time. For the same price as 10 years ago, the HORAGE Array K1 10-year anniversary Kickstarter edition.
Whiskey thing, you know. How many whiskeys did you drink, Jonas?
Quite a few, I think, is the answer.
The first day of
Getting
shooting
that
was
right.
in the evening. We were in front of the fire, and I had to say very complicated sentences, completely unprepared. And I always took a sip of the whiskey. And at some point, Clemens asked, "Is this guy always taking a sip? He's so unclear in speaking." And then we had to take it from-
Deliberately speaking unclear so you could have some more whiskey. I think that's a good way to do things. I should try that with gin myself, to be honest with you. But yeah, so that is a little bit of a background of what the campaign itself is about. Really, it's our way of just saying thank you to everyone. And, you know, we're very conscious that we're living in a world where everything is a bit more expensive and a bit more challenging at the moment. And as we developed our product range, our typical starting price at the moment is around the 3,000 Swiss franc mark. So we thought it's also an exceptionally good way to give access to a really cool quality watch with an in-house Swiss-made movement with all of HORAGE's technology built in at a never to be seen again, well, until maybe the next
Probably.
time, a never to be seen again price point, because the way the world's going, nothing unfortunately is getting any cheaper.
Really?
Folk-
I recognize that in New York, by the way.
Yes,
You're
New
living
York
in an
was,
expensive place now.
it's a
It's
frighteningly
insane.
expensive city.
I mean, you're buying a croissant in my favorite bakery shop around the corner in front of the hotel. I said, oh, $7. Okay.
Yeah, it's why no one lives in Midtown though.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's that much less expensive over here. A couple dollars.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's really crazy. It's but you know, I mean, that's obviously how the world develops. And thank you again for bringing this wind-up show. You really kind of, how to say, when you look at this picture from the early days, you really developed that into a very, very, that was actually I made a widescreen picture at this time. So that was the first time in
Yeah,
this.
that's the first one.
I think besides there was a Patagonia store beside the
This
show.
had been a Patagonia store.
Yeah, this had
at
been a
some point.
Patagonia store.
Yeah, it was
how
right next to the Victorinox
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, and you had your small entry booth here for selling
Yeah.
for selling things, and I think we were here right besides, and yeah, it was amazing. That was and there was also some. Wait,
And I
let
think
me
it's
see.
fair to say, a bit like HORAGE, Wind Up and the fairs that they do have developed quite
Ah, here,
significantly and
I
been
still have a
refined
movie
over
there.
the years.
Yeah, that was the beginning also of your business when it comes to selling accessories and developing the whole company into a company which carries
Yeah, it was-
itself, sustains itself at the end of the day. You guys never
Yeah.
put in some massive investors or stuff like this. Just
No, it's
organically grown.
just Blake, James, and I think it was like $3,000 each or something in 2011 to
Yeah.
get our first round of straps made, and yeah,
Unbelievable.
that was it,
Unbelievable. I still
But yeah,
remember
it
those.
took a long time. It was slow. That was definitely in the slow part of the build. What you're looking at.
But to be honest,
Yeah.
it's not the worst thing to do it like this. A lot of
No.
companies came and go. Do you still remember we were at Peter Luger's?
Yeah,
We did this year
that's a New
again.
York icon.
Yeah. Happy guy, lots of meat there. And I still
Absolutely.
remember, actually we had to pay cash. I think that's probably the only place in New York where you go for a dinner and then you pay cash. And it's still
They
like
might
that.
take card. They might
And
now,
they
I
take,
don't know.
the funny thing is they take
Yeah.
European debit cards.
Okay.
So with my German Sparkasse card, I can actually pay there. And it was like this. And when we were this time in the restaurant, and it said, yeah, we have been here 10 years ago. And then the waiter, the first thing he said, don't worry, nothing has changed. So
Yes.
still cash, still debit card, still the same meat, still the same people. It's amazing. This was really, looking back to this time, it was unbelievable.
Very much
Okay.
so.
I think we are good
And
in
many,
time.
yeah, I guess we just quickly round out a few things to say. Obvious questions people will ask is it runs out, or it runs for another 10 days from today. So we've got 10 days left of the campaign. We are already in the process of getting watches ready and prepared because we want to obviously deliver these as quickly as possible. What we've said to everyone is that the early orders that are in will be delivered in the January, February timeframe. The last orders will be in the March timeframe, in and around there. If we can get it any earlier, we will try our hardest, but we don't want to overpromise. We want to make sure that everyone gets a fair and open and transparent answer to when deliveries will be. But we will get them out the door as quickly as we can, whilst of course taking all the time and care to make sure that they are as they should be. There is a QR code up on your screen. You can scan that. That'll take you directly to the project. You can, of course, just go to Kickstarter, type in HORAGE. It will pop up because luckily there's no other businesses we've ever found with the name HORAGE. So we are a little unique there. So yes, we're good that way. There's a big QR code at the end. If you want to, afterwards, you can watch it again or fast forward to the end and just hold the QR code up and you should get there. From me, I want to say to Zach, thanks very much for joining us. I know it was a little bit of a last minute ask of you to join us here. And well, luckily for you, it's a bit earlier in the day, whereas we're in the evening, but that also sadly means you've got another half day of work to do, whereas we can now go and have our dinner and I can drink some nice gin. Outside of that, thanks very much. The show was amazing. You've done an amazing job as a company, really bringing watches into the mainstream, opening it up to an American audience that, ordinarily probably wouldn't even get to look, touch, and access lots of these brands. Of course, the US has got many of their own small brands up and coming. We know the guys at Brew, for example, Jonathan, we've known him since the early days as well. He's got another fledged, foundling business that is really going well now. Great to see it, and just great to see so many of the new 1 or 2 year old brands also at the show showing what they can do. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so
Next
much
time.
for having me. And, yeah.
By the way, next time we see you in Dallas.
I think Dallas, yes.
Dallas, yeah,
Dallas.
Dallas will be the next show. I don't have the dates ready, but yeah, that'll be
Good.
early 2026. So
Okay,
And
some more steak there.
anyone that's watching this, if you're in the US, there is probably one within a few hours of you. I think if I remember rightly, we've got Dallas, San Francisco, Chicago, and we have got New York.
Yep.
There are many folk, the Canadians, they all try to come to the more northerly shows because they enjoy it. We've got folk coming up from all over the Americas, and plenty of Europeans made it over to New York. They managed to convince their other unwatch loving partner to come with them because they got a trip to New York and they got to go and see some watches. So it's a bit of the best of all worlds.
Perfect.
Good. Then we are
Thanks very
pretty
much.
much
Done and dusted.
good. So I press this magic button of ending the broadcast. You guys, you can still sit there. And
Thank
when
you
we
very
say
much,
goodbye.
everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
So thank
We
you.
will catch up
Obviously,
with you soon.
there was no blue screen for that in this kind of time.